I'm Darius Stanton, and the lights are on, and I'm here with
Darlene Brown
and Marcus Johnson. And we're the Lights of the Round Table, and we would like to welcome you to our Roundtable experience. We talk everything from relationships to entrepreneurship to education to wellness, health and wellness, and anything that's related to those subjects, that we're dealing with. So the lights are on. Darius, what are we lighting about today?
Hey, well, Marcus, we are fortunate to have our global health expert back at the table. The Lights of the Round Table presents none other than our very own doctor, and that's right, we said very own, Dr. Lane Rowland. Welcome forward to the Lights of the Round Table, my brother.
Hey, good afternoon. Super fantastic afternoon, Saturday. I look forward to sharing some information about how you're going to proceed in this new norm, about how to live in this new pandemic that we have that is affecting everybody in the world.
That's right. So right now, make sure you hashtag the lights are on. Make sure you share the show. Follow us on our website. Go to our YouTube page and subscribe. Make sure that you like us on Facebook and also hashtag the lights are on. When we come right back, we'll be speaking with Dr. Rowland on what has been recently released as new guidelines from the CDC and the president to no longer wear masks. If you caught our show last month with Dr. Rowland, he talked to us about even having the wrong mask in the very first place. He talked about this is a virus, not a bacteria. We were given bacteria mask and bacteria hand sanitizer. That's what we'll be talking about on today's show. Real information to help you save you and your family's lives. When we come back with the Lights of the Round Table.
Welcome to the Lights of the Round Table podcast with your co-host, Marcus Johnson, Darlene Brown, and Darius A. Stanton. Featuring special souls from around the globe, these cool, organic, and vibrant personalities come together to discuss the importance of physical health, spiritual strength, and mental well-being, all in an effort to empower our communities one dialogue at a time. Are you ready? Now is the time to break away from the hustle, bustle, and everyday struggles of life. Come shift your focus and flip the switch on a world less bright. The lights are on.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Darius A. Stanton with the Lights of the Round Table with Queen Darlene Brown, King Marcus Johnson, and our very own Dr. Lane Rowland. Let me just tell you a little bit about Dr. Lane Rowland. Dr. Lane Rowland is officially a part of the Congressional Black Caucus COVID-19 task force. He's a member of that. He's a virologist. He has been, as he likes to describe it, he's not just a lab coat doctor. He is a doctor who works in the jungle. So he has been on the front line dealing with Ebola, on the front line dealing with a number of different illnesses around the world. And generally, Dr. Rowland believes that vaccines are okay. But we learned from him on our last show and other. If you've seen him on MSNBC, on BEC, or whatever other channel or program that you may have seen Dr. Rowland, because he is rolling right now. You have heard him talk about what the difference is between efficacy and effectiveness. You've heard him talk about the difference between a virus and a bacteria and how we need to be protecting ourselves. And so back with us, as he promised to be back, to be our global health expert, Dr. Lane Rowland is going to talk to us today about what's been out there now for just a little bit of time, where they said it's okay to take masks off. And people are down, still dying and dealing with all kinds of things. Dr. Rowland, take us back, okay? Because everybody hasn't seen it. Everybody didn't see the first show, which we encourage you to go back and look at our website and check out. But Dr. Rowland, tell us about, what we're dealing with in SARS, COVID-19, and the difference between it being just something that people can kind of get away from, and more importantly, something we really need to be concerned about in terms of just how we transmit it between one another.
Well, the reality, folks, is that the SARS virus is the largest RNA pathogenic virus on the planet. Very immunogenic. We've seen that over 4,000 different variants. And you guys know some of the common variants that are plaguing the world now, from the Brazil strain, South African strain, the Indian double mutation, triple mutation, London strain, the California hybrid strain. The virus is very,
You said double, triple mutation. What does that mean, Dr. Rowe?
A double mutation means that two different viruses of the same family came together. Just like the triple mutation, where three different variants from three different individuals, these viruses got together in one person and they made a triple mutation, a triple SARS virus. This is the problem, and this is the problem that people did not understand last year, or even dealing with virology and understanding the biochemistry of virology. This virus is changing its immunogenic capabilities, the ability to invade the immune system, the ability to not be able to be contracted through respiration, but also through saliva. And the most important thing was driving what's happening in India, standalone flu virus. And the reality is that when people start talking about how do you get to the next norm, are we ever going to get to herd immunity? With this particular virus, I don't see getting to herd immunity in 50 years. If you out there
can you explain to us, and I apologize for cutting you off, but I just want to make sure people understand the terms. People hear it, herd immunity, but what does that actually mean? If you were to achieve it, what is that?
Well, the ideal herd immunity is when a particular population, 90% of a particular population is affected with the disease, and they develop antibodies through vaccination or through natural infection through the population. Once you get 90% of the affected population that have some type of antibodies, this is supposed to confer antibodies or protection to the other 10%. So you're able to get your society back working again. People are able to go back to jobs, people are able to go back to school, et cetera. But the reality with this particular virus, we're never, ever going to reach herd immunity because each virus is kind of driving a new pandemic. So, for example, last year, what we all faced was the D614 pandemic virus of Wuhan. That drove one pandemic. Now, these new viruses, the African strain, the London strain, the Indian strain, the Brazil strain, all these strains are driving a new pandemic. So they're going to have to cycle through the whole entire population. Every one of us is going to have to be infected. 100% of our society is going to have to be infected with one of these particular SARS variants to actually try to even get close to trying to achieve some type of immunity and protection for the population.
Wow. So, and the human, he's like, whoa, can you believe that? The human body, talk to us about the power of the human body and why you decided on this particular go round as they started to bring out the mRNA procedure or the shot to help stop it or stop it from being as lethal, I guess is the best word, because we recognize that it does not stop it from spreading. It does not stop you from catching it. But what I heard you say was that, everybody's going to eventually catch it one way or the other. How powerful is the human body in being able to just deal with it if you treat it properly?
Well, I mean, when we start talking about the human body is remarkable in the immune system. I mean, from its creation to be able to fight all types of disease. Our bodies have always been assaulted by some type of external factor, bacterial, viruses, and also internal factors like cancer. So the immune system is developed to be able to fight that, to allow us to have some type of homeostasis. But in the reality, in this particular virus, the SARS virus, the vaccination is only one part of it. And you have to understand, this is where people are going to make their critical mistake. This is what's going to get people injured, get people, hurt. People are going to die because of the misinformation. You have to understand that the Pfizer vaccine or the Moderna vaccine, which are messenger RNA virus, and even the Johnson & Johnson, folks, these platforms are made off of the D614 Wuhan strain from last year. These vaccine has no effectiveness against the triple mutation from India or the double mutation from India. They have no effect on the P1 and P2 Brazil strain or even the South African strain because these new variants have the ability to evade the immune system. And guess what? None of these vaccines have been tried against the triple mutation in India or the double mutation or the P1 Brazil strain. So it tells you the reality on how effective a vaccine is. And we already know that the vaccine is not going to stop the infection. It's not going to stop the triple mutation. And that's the reality. And that's why it's very important for people to understand the basic science of infectious diseases, understand the basic virology, because if not, I promise you what's going to happen. And I've been saying this for a year and a half, talking about all the different mutations. Folks, if you make it, this is going to be the year that you're going to have to make, because when this winter comes, Armageddon's coming. The four horsemen will be riding, and it's all the scientists are saying this. You're talking wintertime, new triple mutation. We're going to reset the clock again, and there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to get injured. And so that is why people need to understand the basic of the SARS virus. You need to make sure you protect yourself with great biosafety, biosecurity protocols, making sure you have the ability to test your family weekly if your kid is going to school or if you're out in the public. If you do get the vaccination, you need to make sure that you understand if that vaccine really giving you antibodies, you better measure yourself at 3, 6, 9, 12 months, because I can tell you right now, Pfizer is not going to pay for your antibody test. Pfizer is not going to pay when they do try to come up with a triple mutation vaccine, which is going to be improbable. They're not going to pay for it because that's its affinity. This virus is completely different, but when you look at the HIV, influenza, and the SARS virus, they're very immunogenic. They're always changing. And so how do you prepare yourself for what's coming? I mean, if you think that you're not going to be able to wear a mask, you're making a mistake. I promise you, go into a hotel, get on the elevator with 9 people and don't wear a mask. I promise you're going to get sick. That's the reality. So the baseline, the virus is transmitted by 3 ways. Respiration. It's transmitted by secretions, talking to somebody. And then also it can be transmitted by feces. So you have to have that mask, and that mask cannot be an N95 or an FFP2 that has been tested against bacteria. You have to have an antiviral mask to deal with a virus. And this virus, the mask has the ability to decrease and kill and inhibit the virus from getting inside you, both inside and outside. And that's the beautiful thing about an antiviral mask. That's what it's made for, is to inhibit viruses versus a regular N95 mask that's been tested against bacteria. Game changer. And also, what people need to understand is that when we start talking about viruses, one of the words that you need to understand is a word called viral load. Why do you wear a mask? Well, if I'm in an elevator, as an example, there's 9 people in that elevator, I'm in there. Well, guess what? If I don't have a mask on, I will get 100% of that air with the virus into my lungs. I'm going to have a significant infection, higher rate of infection, more significant infection, more quicker symptoms from the infection, versus if I have a mask on, that which decreases the amount of viral load that gets into my lungs. And some of the antiviral masks will present 100% no infection. So it's all about viral load, i.e. you go out in the public, you touch the touchscreens, the kiosks, the ATM machines at the bank, they're contaminated with feces. You can imagine feces, 1 billion viruses, 1 gram. You put your finger on your mouth, you put your finger on the steering wheel of your car, and you get that on your face. You can be infected. Viral load, making sure you keep your hands safe and stuff, making sure that in your bathroom, you go to the airport, Hartsfield, Dulles, you go in the bathroom and somebody flushes that toilet, that virus becomes what we call fecal aerolized. It sprays everywhere. That is why you have lids in your house that gets on the floor, bottom of your shoes. You're transmitted from the airport to your home. Don't wear your shoes in the house, et cetera, et cetera. This is just basic common sense type of stuff that nobody's really sat down and explained to the mass people. This is the reality of what you have to do to understand, to make it, like I always say, to make it on the other side. That's our goal, is to make it on the other side, not be a victim to misinformation a victim to somebody's opinion. If you're dealing with a virus that's airborne, you better be wearing a mask. That's just the bottom line.
Wow. So we've got a quick break that we're gonna get ready to take. Doc, when we come back, we want to talk about, now children are in summer camp, but we're going back to school soon, and they're making the vaccine available and doing studies and tests and saying that it's okay for children now. And so you would think that you already have the answer, that if it's something that's not addressing the current virus, why would you give that to your children and have no idea what it might do? So we want to get your feedback and input on that coming back on our second part of the hour. But we want to make sure that people know how to reach you, Doc. And so we're going to put right now down below your contact information so people can get access to those viral masks and the viral hand sanitizer, so we are in the best position to protect ourselves and families. That's right. We'll also be putting the book there. You'll see it right there. It is Dr. Rowland's work. And so please follow Dr. Rowland. You can catch him, but you'll see his information right there. You can email him and get direct information and contact, and he will communicate with you. So when we come right back with the Lights of the Round Table, we'll be speaking to Dr. Rowland about children and whether or not you should be vaccinating your children at this time. Dr. Rowland will share that information with you. These are the Lights of the Round Table. And don't forget, hashtag the lights are on. Check us out on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and make sure that you follow our website, www.thelightsoftheroundtable.com. We'll be right back. All right, we're back with the Lights of the Round Table. Hey, I'm Darius Stanton, and we're here with the Queen,
Darlene Brown,
and our good brother,
Marcus Johnson, y'all.
No doubt about it. And our very special guest, our global health expert, none other than Dr. Lane Rowland. Welcome forward, King, the Lights of the Round Table. We're so glad to have your light shine on us again today.
So we were talking before the break about should you vaccinate your children? What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Rowland?
Well, I mean, the reality, guys, is just keep it real. I mean, they haven't done the clinical trials for vaccinated children, anybody under 18 years of age. And what's happened is that people made a political, point to vaccinate children without doing the clinical trials. And what you're doing right now is doing the clinical trials real time. And it goes back to that one thing like we talked about. They have not done the vaccine efficacy. What they're doing right now is the vaccine effectiveness and trying to figure it out in these children. And there's going to be a lot of controversy. There's going to be a lot of complications and stuff because it has not been proven yet. How can you take a vaccine that has not been tested against children and then you're going to put it in the field to test people to try to get kids back to school? The next thing they're going to be trying to do is take that same vaccine and inject 7 and 6 years old. What happens if your kid has a reaction? Whatever, sickle cell trait, crisis. Maybe your kid has an autoimmune disease, crisis. Maybe your kid gets Guillain-Barré syndrome or gets, Guillain-Barré syndrome or even gets Bell's palsy, paralysis of the face. Who's going to be responsible for that? That is the big question that you have to ask yourself. And so for me, I'm a pro-vaccine guy. I've injected plenty of children, babies at 5 years old and 8 years old in the jungles of Peru on mass vaccination programs for measles, mumps. And I give these kids a vaccination. I've always given them a Tootsie Roll. That's why they call me Dr. Chocolate, because I've always given children candy in the jungles. This is the reality. People have to make sure they understand the what the purpose is, because if there is a complication, God forbid, you're going to regret this, because people force this on people, and the science has not lived up to this yet because the science is still too young. You cannot have an effective program if the medicine and science doesn't work. That is why you also have to have bioethics. You have ethics in your vaccination program, and it's got to be make sure the vaccination program is fair. And that goes back to the vaccine hesitancy of people because it's so disjointed. And in reality, if we're going to have a very vaccine effective program, folks that are listening to me right now, you have to understand that everybody has to be vaccinated on the planet. You cannot have one person not vaccinated, just like the Wuhan, one person started this whole pandemic. So you can imagine a kid in Africa or a kid in the jungles of Peru or a kid in the Appalachian Mountains or a kid in Alaska or a kid on the Indian reservation that does not get the vaccine for whatever reason. Maybe they don't have access to it. That person can still become patient zero to start the next pandemic. And the problem that we're having is that we have so many people that are infected, so many people in contact, people coughing, people sharing secretions. This is how you create these triple mutations. This virus that's going to just has already changed the world, our modern world, and this virus is going to continue to change our world until we have an effective policy for containment, mitigation. Everybody's on the same page. This is a war, and this war we're going to lose to the virus if we don't have great biosafety, biosecurity protocols.
You know, Doc, when I hear you talk about it, the one thing that strikes me is here we are in 2021. What makes this seem to be, is it so lethal to the point where it seems as if it's just going to continue to go around because we won't do the basic things, which it seems and appears to be the basic things are really to keep your hands clean. You said it, to do the things to stop transferring the virus. But because we have not really committed to doing the basics is why it will keep, it'll continue to spread and mutate. Is it something that has just been like this throughout the course of time? So that means it was in 2015, in 2000, 1995. What brought it to a point where it's such a climax where it is having such a global impact? What's the difference?
The difference is that every virus itself or every pathogen out there is looking to have what we call an advantage, i.e., viruses are always trying to propagate themselves. They want to live. And this is what happened. And what happened is that when we understand how endemic starts or endemic infection, most of the time it comes from an animal vector, i.e. bat, a pig, a monkey. And man is gone further and further into areas that they're not supposed to be. We're not supposed to be eating bats. You eat a bat, guess what? You can contract this virus. And that's exactly what happened. And once that virus gets into a native body, a body that it hasn't seen, our immune system cannot fight that. It is new.
It's like eating a rabid dog. So you're eating something that you have no business eating, which you normally wouldn't have contact with. But because you've crossed into that water, now you're in it and your body's not made to deal with it, because like in other things, your body's not made to digest that meat. Your body's not made to deal with that virus that the bat can carry and live with.
Absolutely. And this is what happens. And so the virus gets into an individual, the virus figures it out, it likes the body. Well, guess what? I got to go infect and go infect other people. Well, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to cough. I'm going to sneeze. I'm going to become respiratory. Or the second way is I become diarrhea, fecal contamination. Feces is everywhere. You can look at India. India is a death zone. India is an example. Brazil is an example of is what's going to happen in the United States within the next 3 or 4 months. That's the reality. No oxygen tanks, masses of people infected. Why? Because people did not really appreciate the understanding on how viruses, in particular, this virus is transmitted. Like I said earlier before in our last show, I called it Dr. Rowland's ABCs in infectious diseases. If you understand the ABCs, you can keep yourself from being infected, period. You don't need a vaccine. You don't need medicine if you are smart and understand. Well, one of the ABCs is an R, respiratory. We know this virus is transmitted in respiratory in the air. I better wear a mask, and I better have an antiviral mask, not an antibacterial mask. I know I have 7 Fs. I know the virus can be transmitted on my face. I can get it that way. I can get it through fingers. Fingers are nasty. I can get it through flies. Flies can land on your potato salad. You can get it through feces. Absolutely. You can get it on the bottom of your foot. You can get it in your food, and you can get it on fomite. And fomite's in the cell phone, your coffee cup. You know, fingers, society, shaking people's hands, i.e. touching the touchscreens in the general public, which are all contaminated. That's just the reality. If you understand that and things, this will save your life.
Wow. This is so powerful for you to share. And what it does speak to me more than anything is some of the very simplistic and basic hygiene things that we were all taught, or at least I hope we all were, which is to wash your hands constantly. And listening to you, it sounds like something like that would, at least at the bare minimal, serve as a form of preventive, right? Because we know that this virus is here. We know that it is being passed around, and that the best way for us, you know, obviously one aspect of how we can protect ourselves is to consistently wash our hands, as well as obtain the appropriate type of mask to wear to protect us against a viral infection.
Yeah, I wanted to hear that, Dr. Rowland's ABCs, because I heard you say, look, vaccination is not necessarily the answer because it's going to continue to mutate. You can't vaccinate. You can't create the vaccination fast enough. You can't create the study fast enough to be able to show that it's truly effective. But what you can do is these ABCs. Give us those ABCs again, please, Doc.
Okay, well, Dr. Rowland's ABCs, we have an R, which is respiratory, respiration. You got to have a mask because of the virus can be transmitted not just in the air from you breathing out the virus or breathing in the virus. You can get it through saliva, secretions, talking to somebody, spitting. That's very important. Then you have the 7 Fs, what I call. You can get the virus through your face. You can get it through your fingers, your flies. You know, you can get it through feces. You can get it on your foot, what I consider the bottom of your shoes. You can get it through food, and you can get it through fomite. A lot of people don't realize that the SARS virus, we found it in frozen chicken wings, fish, ice cream, pork, meat plants. Think about it, folks. These plants are notorious in the United States that people are infected with the SARS-CoV virus. You know, 6 months ago, they had one plant and it's sick virus. And these folks are working in this.
Repeat that again, Doc. You said 3 weeks ago.
No, 6 months at a plant in Iowa, Tyson, where the executives were betting on how many people would get. And these sick folks will work these meat plants, and they're coughing everywhere. And the virus is in the air, lands on your hand meat. Wrap that up in that plastic, freeze it, and you go to Albertsons or that, and you eat it. You don't wash your hands, touch your face, you get infected. We found it in ice cream. So these are the F's that you have to understand. These are also understanding the R. If you understand that the basic transmission of diseases through viruses, bacteria, or whatever, you decrease your chances of being infected. And that's the game changer.
The last word you used, Doc, was FLOMAT. Is that correct?
What was that?
The last F was FLOMAT?
No, it's called fomite.
Oh, FLOMITE. Yes, please forgive me. So,
fomite, F-O-M-I-T-E. Well, a fomite is an inanimate object. It could be a syringe, could be your book, could be your handle, it could be the door to your car, your door to your house. It could be the cell phone that you have. It could be your pen. I want people to understand how the virus, this is an example of what I'm talking about, how the virus got established in Germany. This is going to be a beautiful example so you can understand what I'm talking about. A girl in Germany was a Chinese guy that went to the Bavarian automotive plant, was in the cafeteria, and his part, the Chinese guy, to pass him the salt and shaker. Well, he passed him the salt, and that was person used that salt shaker, and he became patient one in just salt shaker. So you can go to Denny's or going to one of these places, these restaurants, and you touch that salt shaker, that can be ground zero for your infection. That was a case in Germany. That is an example of a fomite.
Got it. Excellent, Doc. Again, this has been just like information that is so critical. As we see the ramp up of, or I should say the opening up, we're coming into summer, and we're going to have a lot of exchange. We're going to have a lot of communication in terms of the respiratory system, or interaction, I should say.
Right.
But one of the things that we also are dealing with is a great deal of anxiety, because people are seeing, the deaths and the tolls. And it's very interesting that we're at a place where we were so concerned about being isolated, about being so quarantined, social distance. And now all of a sudden, based on something that we already recognize and has been communicated, this is the thing, that you get the vaccine and it doesn't stop these things. It doesn't stop what we talked about, but yet, it's people are opening the door, and they're not only doing that, but they're also knowing that with the vaccine, you can still transmit it, you can still catch it. And so that is, we're really it's a real barrel. It's a pickle, if you so to speak. And it's about those 7 F's. I guess the last piece is just being able to, if I've everything that I've heard from my own Darius A. Stanton mind, from what I heard you say and all the other things that I've read, what it basically means, the thing that I can control the most is what I do and what I touch and what I'm engaged with. What I can't control is when I go sit down at somebody else's table and not knowing what the experience is with them. So the food preparers, like you said, fortunately, I don't eat chicken and I don't eat meats that are coming out of these plants. So I don't have to worry about catching it through that. But through some other contamination, if I put myself in that position. So it's almost like I better really start thinking about cooking my own food, growing my own food, and just having, until we get a better handle on this and it starts to deteriorate. Is that right?
I will put it one step more. Even if you were a vegetarian, I've done it, my students have done it. You go to a supermarket and watch how many people touch the lemons or the apples, put them back with their nasty hands. And you're thinking they're all clean, getting that lemon, and that lemon can be that fomite, that can be that feces outside of that. That's why you're always supposed to eat vegetables when you get home. People are just nasty. Let me give you an example. When I came back to the States, I'm just telling you the truth.
It is true, right?
A year and a half ago, I came back to the States because they wanted me to do the biosafety, biosecurity protocols for Tao Hospitality, which is one of the biggest restaurants, clubs in the world. And I went there and I do what I usually do when I'm on site to do a study to help people out. I wouldn't sit in the restaurant. I mean, people spending $50,000, $100,000, $250,000 for a bottle of champagne. So I sat in the corner and I watched a guy eat his food. He got up, he went into the bathroom. I followed him into the bathroom. He went in there, he took a dump, came out, did not wash his hands, went to that table, touched that credit card, touched the bottom of his chair, took the pen, wrote on the pen, and gave that to that waiter. And he spent $50K on this dinner. How many people did he infect? How many people he could have killed with hepatitis A, whatever the case is? The point is that people are like that. And that's why you have to have the word you're looking for is what we call situational awareness. I better know my environment. I better know I'm getting on the elevator and somebody's not wearing a mask. Maybe you look at somebody and they look like they're sick. You better avoid that. And that is why, as we go through this new norm, it's very important to make sure that we protect our children. Our children better have an antiviral mask because we know that children are asymptomatic. Children can be the spreader of the disease and stuff. This is a reality. So the kids have to have the same basic safety security protocols. Don't think that that 5-year-old kid can be innocent. That 5-year-old kid can also be the source of the infection. So the biosafety, biosecurity protocols has to be applied to everybody because one individual, like I said, can be patient zero. A child can be patient zero. An older person in a nursing home can be a patient zero. You can be patient zero. That is why it's important that as we move into the future, you got to have home rapid antibody tests. You got to have rapid antigen tests to be able to test your children when they come home to school in 15 minutes and make sure that Johnny is not sick. If maybe Uncle Bobby wants to come to Thanksgiving, maybe Uncle Bobby wants to come to your house for Thanksgiving. Well, Uncle Bobby, I ain't seen you in years. Hey, let's do a rapid test on you to make sure you're good to go.
I tell you what, we got to take a break. When we come right back, we're going to talk about how to get these products, how to get these things in your hands, and the oxygen tanks, why that's so important, because people are dying right now in India and they're fanning them because they don't have oxygen, literally. So how you can prepare yourself. Remember what happened in our own communities and our own hospitals, and they didn't have the right resources, didn't have the things. You can get these things to take care of yourself and your family. When we come back here on the Lights of the Round Table, don't forget to hashtag the lights are on. We're right here. We want you to be with us too. We'll be right with Dr. Lane Rowland. We'll be right back. Peace and love. This is Darius A. Stanton, one of your producers and co-hosts of the Lights of the Round Table. We're an exciting group of folks. We call ourselves the intelligent, cool, genuine, authentic, organic brothers and sisters, just working to make sure that we shine light on positive people, images, places, and things. And guess what? We recognize that you are what you digest. So come turn your light on with us. I'm fortunate to be a motivational speaker. I'm fortunate to be a business consultant. I'm fortunate to be a trainer. So guess what? The most important job that I have today is the co-host of the Lights of the Round Table. So join us each and every week right here as we hashtag the lights are on. Hey, welcome back to the Lights of the Round Table. This is Darius A. Stanton, and I'm here with the Queen, Darlene Brown. What's up, Queen?
What's up, King? Let's throw it over to the other king.
Chilling, y'all. I'm chilling. About to put my subpar mask on because I have to go make some money. But I am about to. I have the email, and this is really funny. I do have the email from Dr. Rowling, and I have my whole family is like, because they saw the show. They're like, okay, we want some of the formula for the antiviral soap. We want that. My mom came to me talking about the antiviral mask. How can I get mine? I'm like, well, we can order together, I'm sure. But if you just want to go ahead and get your own, working on stuff with my daughter. So I emailed him. And before we got off our last show, he had already emailed me back. So, the outreach to I appreciate that, Dr. Rowland, because a lot of people talk it. And then you get to them and there's, no way to get it. And got your book also, got into it a little bit earlier today, navigating a new world. And, you talk about these things. What, I'd love to see some more of, just from you is also the kind of graphics where we have like the flow charts of your 5 Fs, your 7 Fs, whatever it is. And your situational awareness and what we need. And, I just like to jump into a question, man, why aren't we hearing this in the mainstream? Because it's so thought-provoking and scary, but like your thoughts on why isn't this the story? Why would they open things up knowing that, the people like yourself are like, look, we're in trouble in the fall and winter.
Well, the question is that, you're award-winning musician, Not everybody's a musician. A lot of people can't hear. And it's the same thing in my profession as an infectious disease guy. I'm in my lane. This is what I do. This is what I dream. I hear the music of infectious diseases. I've lived it. I've seen them. I've been looking at these guys since I was 5 years old when I got my first microscope. And I've seen people die from diseases. I've saved people's lives from disease. And this is the reality. The reality, what happened was that here in America, because of the Trump administration from last year, they made it political. People jumped into lanes that weren't supposed to be there, i.e., drink Clorox, put your head in a microwave, don't wear a mask. It's going to go away it's going to go away like in the summertime. It's the flu's worse than that. I heard so many people, and now I look back, they look like idiots. They've killed 600,000 people, but guess what? The numbers are wrong. They say now that the numbers is probably double. Maybe 1 million Americans have died last year because the numbers are not accurate. This is what the scientists are saying. And so that is why is that you got people that do not have the expertise. How can somebody up in Idaho, Pocatello, talk about malaria or SARS or rabies if they've never been out of the country, they've never been in the jungles? That is the problem. And that is why you have to make sure that the person that you're talking to has that experience. When I talk about mask, I'm a biological chemical warfare guy, certified. I know about nerve gas, mustard gas, Ebola, viral hemorrhagic. I was trained by the Army. You don't think I know about mask? I know more about mask than 99.9% of the people on the planet. And I'm going to tell you what mask you have to have. So that is why we're where we're at, because we have misinformation from people that got into a lane. You can't have a neurosurgeon on television talking about infectious diseases. My sister's a chief of OB. She don't talk about infectious diseases. She delivers babies.
And we would not be talking about Sanjay Gupta maybe, on CNN. But I hear you. I'm like, huh? Yeah, but I got you. Yes.
But that's the reality. And so my responsibility in the platform, that I have had is based off of my real world experience in the jungles, doing real missions, operating in hospitals that no water, seeing people die from diseases that it would blow your mind away. Seeing babies that are born without brains. I've seen babies that are blind. I've seen babies' head the size of an apple with toxoplasmosis. I've seen children die with tetanus. I've seen children die from diphtheria. So I have a better appreciation of diseases because I've seen the horrors of what diseases can do. I've seen people that have no mouths. I've seen diseases eat people's eyes out of their head. So I have a better understanding because I deal with the real world.
Wow, Dr. Rowland, thank you so much for bringing the truth here to the lights of the roundtable for us and our audience. It is something that we don't take lightly, and we're very grateful to have you as our resident doctor and expert, particularly now to share information on what we must do and how we can prepare to not just protect ourselves, but to protect our family, our friends, and those in our community.
I think it's important that you understand that everybody has to understand. And this is not me being sentimental. This is not me being a horror. There's a reason why I was nominated Global Humanitarian World, the Blue Planet Prize. And I'll know in about 3 weeks if I won or not, because you have to have humanity. And humanity sometimes is our moms. And I've heard so many stories this year. I could write a book. People call me at 3 o'clock in the morning screaming because their mama are being tricked. Their mamas died. Their mamas do not resuscitate. They have the SARS-CoV virus, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this disease, the SARS virus, is not some commercial. We're not dealing with mannequins. We're dealing with human beings. And if you don't do that, once your life is gone in my world, and I've seen people die and I've seen the light go out in their eyes, you are history. You are a footnote. So as long as you got life and breath in your body, you better be making sure you're doing the best and have the best information, because I can promise you, if you do not listen. You have an example. God gave you the example for what happened last year. There's 1 million people that are dead here in the United States and countless others that have the long hauler syndrome, mental fog, suicide, etc., lost jobs. You have a preview. God gave you all a preview of what's going to happen. So you better get prepared. Like they say, God's, for you save me in that flood, then you drown, you get to heaven, and the guy goes, hey, God, I was waiting on you. Hey, man, I sent you 6 boats. So you better take the information and apply it to the real world.
Thank you.
Definitely Marcus is, God gave you those boats, you better jump on it, right? They gave you that barge, you better jump on it. Dr. Rowland, I gotta ask, you just talked about literally watching people die and viruses eating their eyes out. As we deal with this from a mental health perspective, how do you deal with that? How do you encourage our medical professionals who are dealing with this, the first responders, just dealing with the constant drain of seeing people sick and ill and having that experience around them on a consistent basis? First of all, how do you deal with that? How have you dealt with it in the past so that you can sleep sound at night? And then how would you recommend that other folks deal with that mental health challenge?
Well, in my life is an example of exactly what you're talking about, because I've seen it all, guys. I mean, I've seen babies born without brains. I've cut so many legs off in my lifetime. I could write a book on cutting off legs. I've seen it all. I've seen people bit by snakes. I've seen people's face fall off. I've seen all the horrors. But what drives me is my motivation and my compassion for humanity. And when I tell people in this profession, the people that have the problems in the medical profession, healthcare people that have the mental problem, is that they really truly don't believe in what their purpose is in life. And your purpose has to be better than what you're looking for in trying to save people's lives. i.e., I had a baby, and it's on my website. I'll never forget it, in Cusco, Peru. The baby, 3 months old, body was burnt up. The house caught on fire. The baby was on the bed. Baby gets to the hospital. They call me in as the infectious disease guy, my buddy, Dr. Mario Conejo, the plastic surgeon. I walk into the room, and the baby's eyes have popped out of his head. His ear fell off. His chest was split. I had to make a decision. I was going to amputate this baby's arm off. So sure enough, I go home and I'm thinking about this case because it's a case that's horrific, unbelievable, the pain that baby was in. And I told myself I was going to, people said, let that baby die. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm going to give that baby the best knowledge that Dr. Rowland can give. And guess what? I worked on that baby and that baby died. And guess what? I sleep like a champ. You know why? Because I gave it all that I could give, nothing more. No looking back, second guess, and no shoulda, coulda, woulda. That is the reality. God builds people for this profession. And I think he built me to carry crosses. And crosses, I carry a lot of crosses. I know in my world, when I get to that rocking chair and I'm rocking back when I'm 85, looking out on that porch in Louisiana, chewing some snuff, spitting in that cup. Look back on my life. And, hey, I've done all I can. Nothing more I can do. I lived it. The best of the best.
Got it. So at this time, we just want to hear from you, what products we should purchase. We know viral masks, viral sanitizer, but the oxygen tanks, talk to us about the different oxygen tanks and, and how we can purchase those items. And that's going to take us home. We're going to shine the light on that, and then we're going to make it and allow people to get to the rest of their day.
Well, I mean, the reality is that I've opened up schools in North Carolina. I've opened up churches in Jackson, Mississippi. I've opened up athletic stadiums in Denver, helped develop the technology for the NBA bubble. This is what Dr. Rowland, this is what I do. This is my responsibility. How do you save people's lives? Well, You have to bring the technology. It's not about product. It's about the technology that's effective, i.e., you better be getting an antiviral mask. I don't know what people are thinking. Why are you running around with a bacterial mask? Why would you have a bacterial soap when you got viruses on your hands? And this is the type of stuff. Having the ability to have home rapid tests, both antibody and antigen, to test your family out. Why are you going to wait on a weekend to try to go to some place that doesn't have? You can put that technology in your hand. Having the best surface disinfectant that we have, P28, P30, that actually kills the SARS-CoV virus and not a coronavirus lookalike. That's the type of stuff. Having floor mats, etc. Having the knowledge, having the book that I wrote on understanding basic pathology, infectious diseases, situational awareness. In my book, I also talk about mental health. People are tired, post-traumatic syndrome, trying to have a good outcome, thinking positive, making sure that you protect your loved ones, getting out in the environment, all these things. There is not one thing from A to Z that is not a part of this pandemic that each and every one of us feel. So guys, if you need this stuff, the technology, contact me. This is what I do. This is what I've done for big corporations, and this is what I do for mom and pop. This is what I've done for schools. This is what I've done for hospitals. This is what I've done for churches, etc.
So, Dr. Rowland, I just want to ask, when you say have these tests that we can give ourselves, are you referencing tests that we can go into a pharmacy and just buy off the shelf?
No, you can't. You got to get it from, yeah. I'm just saying, but you have to get it you can get it from me. And what we do is we ship that to you directly to your home and stuff. And this is the thing about the technology, because the big thing, folks, is that one of the biggest mistakes that the CDC helped perpetuate this infection, their testing was wrong in the beginning.
So are you referring to tests that they stick up your nose?
Well, we got the nose and also mouth, but it's not about the nose or the mouth. Their assay kits were unreliable. The kits that we have, testing we have, are like 99.9%. You're in the ball game. So this is the difference. The bottom line at the end of the day, folks, just keep it real. Who's going to save your family's life? You think the government's going to save your life, or it's going to be you taking responsibility of your own family? And the reality is that you have to have that, because I can promise you, when the wintertime comes along, you better start preparing like toilet paper. You better get ready. It's going to be a run on testing. It's going to be a run on the surface disinfectant that we have that's actually been tested against the SARS-CoV virus in nursing homes. That's the difference. There's not going to be any of that, just like there was no toilet paper, people running on gasoline, etc. You guys lived through that. So you better start preparing prophylactically, get your stuff ready, have all this stuff ready. And then I will let you know, probably in the next 3 weeks, I can promise you the big thing in the winter times is going to be oxygen tanks. You're not going to be able to find them. Just what's happening in India and Brazil.
Oh, wow. Well, we thank you so much, Dr. Rowland. We are just so grateful. I know what I need to do. Everyone watching the show, please share. Please get connected with Dr. Rowland. Order the things that he has available to protect yourself and to protect your loved ones, and share this information with everyone. Don't stand and debate about what they think. This is not a debatable situation. Share it because we want to have an impact on humanity. And sharing it does just that. People have to make their own decisions, but share this information and then be about what you need to do to protect and preserve your life and the life of your family. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much, Dr. Rowland. I'm so grateful to have you as our resident doctor here on the Lights of the Roundtable. And I'm going to toss it over to you, Marcus Johnson.
Well, yet again, I'm speechless in hearing this, but we will put the information for Dr. Rowland below, also, attached to our streams. We just want to make sure that, again, just to bring home the point that it is on you to solve your problems. And no one will do this for you. And appreciate you, Dr. Rowland, for what you're doing and reaching out, the quick outreach back to us. And we look forward to continuing to amplify everything that you're doing. So, man, just be situationally aware. That's my key from today. Be situationally aware and always be on. And just think, the whole idea of everywhere that you are, your everywhere situation, your 24-hour situation, in the restaurant, at home, at the grocery store, washing your food. You used to laugh when grandma used to boil her water back in the day. Maybe she knew something, 50 years ago that we need to know right now. So definitely appreciate that, man. And I appreciate you sharing light on that. Darius?
Hey, our hashtag is the lights are on. Well, I think we have another hashtag that is pretty common, but is not so common. And that's hashtag wash your hands. Dr. Rowland said it best. We can't title the show, but he said it's true. People are NASTY. And that's why you need to do what you have to do. But also Dr. Rowland taught something that's really important. And that is, train your children to be disciplined, not to just take anything from anybody, not to just eat anything that anybody gives them, not to just eat it because it's something that they like, but you eat things at home. You eat things that have been wiped down. You make sure you take your shoes off at the door, that you don't bring those shoes in the house, that you've been in the bathroom with the fecal matter that Dr. Rowland talked about, and you bring that fecal matter into your bedroom, and then you lay down on your bedroom floor. These things that some of us do every day. I was raised since a little boy to take my shoes off at the door, but that's not so common. So we now have to really train our children more than we've ever done, really prepare them to be, as Dr. Rowland says, situationally aware. So listen, you can see it down below our website. Make sure you visit us on our website. Make sure you go to our YouTube page. Make sure you check us out on Facebook and like us, subscribe on YouTube, look at us, follow us on IG, send us what you want us to talk about, and always push the lights are on, hashtag the lights are on. Stay tuned. You'll see us next week for another great show. We look forward to seeing you next month, Dr. Rowland.
Thank you very much, folks, and thank you for the opportunity. And I think next month we'll have more information. Every month it's going to be an evolving situation, and we're going to make sure everybody is situation aware with the most current medical and science information based off of that, and make a decision on how we proceed in the new pandemic and the old pandemic, because this is our new lives. And I look forward to it. Thank you for the opportunity, guys.
And Doc, thank you so much. I just want people to pool your resources, right? Just think of everybody in your circle, every family has purchased 2 or 3 oxygen tanks. That means that if something goes wrong, you got people you can call, because you got other people in your circle that have got these resources. But if you keep the information to yourself, or you say, well, I can't afford it, I'm gonna wait till next week or next month. Next week or next month might come too fast. So take time out, invest in what is going to help save our lives. So on that note, thank you so much for the Lights of the Round Table. This is Darius A. Stanton for Darlene Brown, Marcus Johnson, and our global health expert, Dr. Rowland. Lights of the Round Table. Hey, the lights are on.
Lights are on.
Lights are on.
Lights are on.